Imagine being born in a world torn apart by war and fear, where your very existence is a threat to others. This is the reality King Herod faced when he was born in 73 BC. As a child, he grew up in a world where being part of the Jewish majority was a luxury few could afford, and he was born into a family from Idumean, Edomite, descent, a minority group that was not always welcomed. Growing up, Herod heard stories about wars, power struggles, and survival. His family's history was marked by conflict, and their very existence was a reminder of the fragility of their position. As a result, Herod's childhood was shaped by the harsh realities of his world. He was clever, but he was also uncertain, unsure of his place in the world. Herod's family was not like others in Judea. They were outsiders, and their social status was precarious at best. His father, Antipater, was a skilled diplomat and strategist who managed to secure a position of power for his family, but this came with a price. Herod's family was always looking over their shoulders, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Despite these challenges, Herod's childhood was not without its moments of hope. His mother, Cypros, was a member of the Nabatean royal family, and her connection to the powerful Nabateans may have provided some protection for her family. However, this also meant that Herod was exposed to the complexities of Middle Eastern politics from a young age. As Herod grew older, he began to realize that his family's position was not a permanent one. He saw how easily power could shift and how quickly fortunes could change. This realization would shape his future as he became a master of survival and a skilled politician. In his teenage years, Herod began to understand the complexities of the Roman Empire and its hold on Judea. He saw how Rome controlled everything, and how its power was both feared and respected. To protect his family, Herod learned how to gain favor with powerful leaders, a skill that would serve him well in the years to come. Herod's ambition was not limited to protecting his family. He also had bigger aspirations. He wanted to be a leader, to make a name for himself in the world of politics. And so, he began to build alliances, to make deals and form relationships with those who could help him achieve his goals. In 47 BC, Herod's big break came when he was appointed as the Roman governor of Galilee. He was just 25 years old, but he was determined to make the most of this opportunity. Herod proved himself to be a capable and effective leader, earning the respect of the Roman authorities and the admiration of his people. However, Herod's rise to power was not without its challenges. He faced opposition from within his own family, as well as from rival factions in Judea. He was forced to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the world of ancient politics. Despite these challenges, Herod persevered, using his cunning and diplomacy to achieve his goals. He became known for being tough but fair, a leader who was respected for his wisdom and his strength. As we look at Herod's life, we can see the complex blend of ambition, fear, and uncertainty that defined his early years. We can see the boy who was born into a world of conflict, but who refused to be defined by it. Instead, he used his circumstances to fuel his ambition, to drive him forward, and to shape him into the leader he would one day become. But what about the man behind the legend? What drove Herod to make the choices he did, to become the king he was? In the next section, we'll explore the complex web of motivations and desires that drove Herod to greatness and to darkness. We'll look at the relationships that shaped him, the events that tested him, and the choices that defined him. For now, let's pause and reflect on the story so far. We've seen Herod's childhood, marked by conflict and uncertainty. We've seen his rise to power, driven by ambition and determination. And we've seen the challenges he faced, the obstacles he overcame, and the choices he made along the way. But what about you? How do you respond to challenges? How do you navigate uncertainty? What drives you to succeed, and what holds you back? These are questions that Herod faced, and that we can all learn from. In the next section, we'll continue to explore his story and to reflect on the lessons it offers us. But for now, let's take a moment to pause, to think, and to reflect on the journey so far. You're born into a world where being different is a threat to those around you. Imagine growing up as King Herod did, a child of mixed descent in a Jewish world where purity of blood was everything. Your family, though powerful, is not well liked by the majority. You hear stories of wars, power struggles, and the constant fight for survival. This is the reality Herod faced, and it shaped him into the person he would become. As a teenager, Herod realized that Rome was the ultimate power broker. To protect his family and himself, he needed to gain favor with the Roman leaders. He learned how to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined their world. Herod was clever and resourceful, always on the lookout for ways to secure his position. But gaining power wasn't just about making deals and forming alliances. It was also about showing strength, demonstrating that you were someone not to be messed with. Herod became governor at just 25, known for being tough but fair. People feared him more than they loved him, and that was exactly what he wanted. Fear can be a powerful tool, a way to get others to do what you want without having to ask. However, Herod's journey to power was fueled by more than just ambition. It was driven by a deep-seated need to survive in a world that seemed determined to destroy him. He was constantly looking over his shoulder, waiting for someone to come along and take him down. This created a sense of paranoia within him, a feeling that he was always on the verge of being betrayed. As he rose through the ranks, Herod's reputation grew. He was a skilled politician, able to charm and manipulate those around him. But beneath the surface, he was a complex and troubled individual. His desire for power and acceptance led him to make difficult choices that would ultimately define his reign. Imagine being in Herod's shoes, constantly walking a tightrope between survival and destruction. It's a precarious balancing act, one that requires a delicate touch and a willingness to do whatever it takes to stay ahead. Herod's story is a reminder that power is a double-edged sword, capable of creating great things but also destroying lives. As we explore Herod's journey to power, we're left with a question: what drives us to succeed? Is it a desire for recognition, a need for acceptance, or something deeper? Herod's story offers a complex answer, one that's both inspiring and cautionary. As you continue to learn about Herod, remember that his story is not just about a king who rose to power. It's about a boy who was forced to navigate a treacherous world, one that was determined to break him. His journey is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a choice to be made. Will we let fear guide us, or will we choose compassion and empathy? The choices we make have consequences, and Herod's story is a testament to that. His desire for power and acceptance led him to make choices that ultimately defined his reign. As we explore his story, we're forced to confront the darker aspects of human nature, the parts of ourselves that we often try to hide. You're now standing in the shoes of a powerful king, King Herod, who ruled Judea with an iron fist. Imagine yourself as the mastermind behind the magnificent structures that still stand today, a testament to your ambition and grandeur. As you walk through the bustling streets of Jerusalem, the sound of hammers and chisels echoes through the air as your workforce toils to complete the great expansion of the Temple of Jerusalem. This was the life of King Herod, a man who rose to power with the support of Rome and left an indelible mark on the history of Judea. But behind the grandeur and the glory, there was a complex web of intrigue and deception that defined his reign. As you walk the halls of the palace, you begin to notice the eerie silence that surrounds you, a silence that belies the suspicion and insecurity that gnaws at the heart of this once great king. As the years went by, Herod's paranoia grew, and with it, his willingness to do whatever it took to maintain power. His suspicion turned to his own family, and he began to execute those he thought were plotting against him. The streets of Jerusalem ran red with the blood of his loved ones, a grim reminder that even the most powerful among us can fall prey to the darker aspects of our nature. You can't help but wonder, what drove Herod to this point? Was it the fear of losing power, or the fear of being seen as weak? Whatever the reason, his legacy is a complex one, a testament to the duality of human nature. On one hand, he was a brilliant builder, a mastermind who brought grandeur to the city of Jerusalem and left behind a lasting legacy. On the other hand, he was a ruthless king, willing to do whatever it took to maintain his grip on power. As you stand before the ruins of the Temple of Jerusalem, you can't help but feel a sense of awe at the sheer scale of Herod's achievements. And yet, you're also struck by the sense of sadness that pervades the air, a sense of what could have been if only Herod had chosen a different path. You begin to realize that power is a double-edged sword, capable of creating wonders, but also destroying trust and relationships. Herod's story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most powerful among us are not immune to the darker aspects of our nature. As you look out upon the ruins of the Temple of Jerusalem, you're left with a sense of wonder, a sense of awe at the sheer scale of Herod's achievements, and a sense of sadness at the price he paid for his ambition. What can we learn from Herod's story? Can we learn to balance our desire for power and success with compassion and empathy? Or will we follow in Herod's footsteps, becoming masters of our own downfall? You're left with more questions than answers as you stand before the ruins of the Temple of Jerusalem, a reminder that the line between greatness and darkness is thin indeed. Herod's story serves as a powerful reminder of the choices we make and the consequences that follow. But it's also a testament to the human spirit, a spirit that can rise above even the darkest of circumstances and create something beautiful from the ashes. You're standing in the shoes of King Herod, the mastermind behind the magnificent structures that still stand today. But there's more to his story than grandeur and ambition. As you walk through the bustling streets of Jerusalem, the sound of merchants and traders fills the air, but beneath the surface, you sense a different story unfolding. Herod wasn't born cruel. He was a boy trying to survive in a world of war, rejection, and fear. Imagine being a child of mixed descent, not fully accepted by the Jewish majority. You're from Idumean, Edomite, descent, and in a world where purity of blood is everything, you're seen as an outcast. But Herod was clever, and he adapted to his surroundings, learning to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined his world. As a teenager, Herod saw that Rome controlled everything, and to protect his family, he learned how to gain favor with powerful leaders. He became governor at just 25, known for being tough but fair. People feared him more than they loved him, but that's what it took to survive in a world where betrayal and power struggles were a constant threat. But here's the thing. Herod's story shows us that greatness and darkness can live in the same person. We often think of villains as one-dimensional, born with evil in their hearts, but Herod's life reminds us that it's not that simple. He was a product of his environment, shaped by the world around him, and that's a lesson we can all learn from. You see, power can create wonders, but it can also destroy trust. Herod built palaces, cities, and the great expansion of the Temple of Jerusalem, but his suspicion and insecurity grew, and he executed family members he thought were plotting against him. It's a stark reminder that our choices, our actions, and our decisions can shape who we become. So, what can we take away from Herod's story? We all have choices, and Herod's life reminds us that fear can shape us, but compassion can guide us. It's a message that's especially relevant for teens, who are constantly navigating their own identities, friendships, and challenges. Herod's story is a reminder that we're not bound by our circumstances, and that we have the power to choose how we respond to the world around us. As you continue to explore King Herod's life, you'll see that his story is full of contradictions. He was a brilliant builder, but also a ruthless king. He was a product of his environment, but also a master of his own destiny. And it's that complexity that makes his story so compelling, so relatable, and so relevant to our own lives. You're now standing in the shoes of King Herod, a leader who built magnificent structures and ruled Judea with an iron fist. But there's more to his story than grandeur and ambition. As you walk through the bustling streets of Jerusalem, the sound of merchants and traders fills the air, but beneath the surface, you sense the weight of his vulnerability. Herod's journey from a vulnerable child to a powerful king serves as a reminder that we all have the capacity for greatness and darkness within us. Imagine being a young boy, born in 73 BC, into a world of conflict and fear. You're from Idumean, Edomite, descent, not fully accepted by the Jewish majority. As a child, you hear about wars, power struggles, and survival, stories that shape your understanding of the world. Growing up, Herod was clever and ambitious, but he also carried a sense of not belonging. He saw how Rome controlled everything, and to protect his family, he learned how to gain favor with powerful leaders. At just 25, he became governor, known for being tough but fair. People feared him more than they loved him, and that's a lesson we can learn from. Fear can feel like the safest way to survive, but it can turn hearts cold. As you navigate your own life, you may face similar choices. Do you let fear guide you, or do you choose compassion and empathy? Herod's story shows us that greatness and darkness can coexist in the same person. As you reflect on Herod's journey, you begin to see that power can create wonders, but it can also destroy trust. He built palaces, cities, and the great expansion of the Temple of Jerusalem, but his suspicion and insecurity grew. He executed family members he thought were plotting against him, and his legacy was marked by both brilliance and ruthlessness. Take a moment to consider Herod's story. He wasn't born cruel. He was a boy trying to survive in a world of war, rejection, and fear. His life reminds us that we all have choices, and fear can shape us, but compassion can guide us. As you move forward, remember that you have the power to choose your path. Will you let fear lead you, or will you choose to walk in the light of compassion? As you ponder this question, imagine yourself standing in the midst of a bustling marketplace, surrounded by the sights and sounds of everyday life. The air is filled with the smell of fresh bread and the sound of merchants haggling over prices. But beneath the surface, you sense the weight of the world's complexities. Herod's story is a reminder that we all have the capacity for greatness and darkness, and it's up to us to choose which path we'll take.